In 2013, I was with a friend who asked me a question. Do you believe in angels? Well, I'm a Southern Baptist minister. I've been a preacher, a Christian since I was 14, and I've been a preacher for most of my life. And so I told her, yes, I believe what the Bible teaches about angels. And so she says, I want to show you a picture that I took on Mother's Day. And so she proceeded to show me the picture that you see on the screen. It is at the Cloud Family Cemetery in Madison County. And I'll tell you more about the location in a moment, but the young man in the picture to the left-hand corner is a member of her family. This tombstone was of particular interest to her, but then she drew my attention to the scene or the image in the upper right-hand corner. And so I was fascinated to see that there seemed to be a figure there, kind of ghostly looking, if you would, an angelic kind of figure. And so I asked her if I could take the photograph and make a digital copy of it. This was an original production from her own camera. She shot it with a digital camera, but then she had a print made, which is, I guess you could say, the original print. So it was a very good quality, and I took it home and put it on my scanner and scanned it in very high definition and high resolution, so that I could zoom in a little bit without it losing much resolution and see if I could see the particulars about this strange figure that's going to be floating up on the ground, above the ground, in the cemetery. So I was very intrigued by this. I enjoy these kinds of mysteries. Well, all kinds of mysteries, I guess, whether I'm reading them or searching for them or enjoying them in various kinds of media, whether in the movies or on the television or whatever. But I do believe in the unseen world. I do believe in that about that the major portion of our entire galaxy and universe is invisible. It's called dark matter. Dark matter is really what holds everything together. It's kind of like the base that everything that exists, or everything that we think exists, it's like the base upon which everything else sits. And we've come to understand that there are colors and shades and hues in the light spectrum that the human eye cannot see. And there are also frequencies in the audio spectrum that human beings cannot hear. And so there are many things in the world that are unseeable, unhearable. But for having said all of that, I'd have to tell you that for the most part, I've spent most of my life, and I guess I continue now, being a skeptic. I'm very skeptical. It's very unusual or strange even to me to know that I'm a Christian. I've always been amazed by that, because I really don't believe everything I see. I don't believe everything I hear. And I'm very slow to believe. I would have to tell you that concerning my religious life and my spiritual life, as far as being a Christian, it's a great deal larger than just my faith and what I believe. If there really is a God, and that's one of the first tenets of my faith, He's so much bigger than my faith that's where the difference is made in a life like mine. I don't swallow everything. I don't accept everything. I'm very slow to grasp and to embrace things. And so I found out when I became an amateur magician at around age 12 that you can't believe everything, and seeing is not believing. People cannot really pull rabbits from empty hats, make their assistants levitate, or saw their assistants in half with a saw and then restore them. That's just all magic tricks. Those are illusions. The reason I became a magician is because I was inspired by one of the most famous illusionists and artists and entertainers that has ever lived. His name was Harry Houdini. He lived around the turn of the 20th century. Harry became known, I guess, or most famous being an escape artist, but he started out just as a card magician, using coins and cards and balls and scarves. And later he became a great famous escape artist. Well, what he ultimately became known most for, it was his escapes, but what he was least known about was that he was a debunker of mediums and spiritualists. He even became a great friend of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of the Sherlock Holmes mysteries. And they, as a team, went around from place to place exposing fake mediums and fake spiritualists. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know much about what Harry believed in. I don't think he believed in much of anything. So maybe I'm a step above him in one regard. Maybe he wouldn't consider me to be better, but at least different. There are many things, but I'm slow to believe in the paranormal. I guess I could say in living 61 years, I don't think I've ever seen anything that was really truly spooky or actually magical or unexplained. I've lived a rather mundane life, and that's perhaps why I'm so much always on the lookout for mysteries and excitement and adventures, very much like the Cloud Cemetery Ghost or the Cloud Cemetery Angel. So I took the photograph that you see home with me. I scanned it in. I then could enlarge it, zoom in, look at a variety of different scenes and pieces and parts of the photograph to see if I could detect any tampering with the photo. My friend is really not all that technically savvy. She is not someone that I would suspect of having great skills or abilities with Photoshop. So I was really intrigued. As a matter of fact, back during that time, I posted these photos and some of my analysis of the photos on Facebook. A few people saw them at the time. Just recently, though, my interest returned back to the photograph, and I never really did resolve the situation by doing thorough research. But what I want to tell you is that photographs and perhaps even video are a poor medium for proving the existence of anything or serving as evidence. There's probably more people have observed and studied the video and the film, the photos that were shot on the day of the Kennedy assassination, but there are so many different theories, and really it's almost certain that many of the photographs and the video that was shot that day are the reason and the cause for so much baseless speculation and false assumption. The only other thing that was probably more confusing and supplying greater contradiction were the eyewitness testimonies. So interviewing people who actually saw it, so many people saw so many different things and saw so many things differently. And then so much of the film can be interpreted, more can be seen than is actually there, and there are probably some things that are there that have been missed and might not be ever seen or might be picked up on tomorrow. One of the first things that I looked at in the photo were the shadows. I've put dark arrows here to indicate that the sun was behind this tombstone, and the sun actually was, the photographer was facing the sun, and the shadows are moving toward them. So you see that everything here has shadows, almost everything. And all the shadows are exactly where they're supposed to be. And yet, when you look at the figure just in this basic photograph here, whatever that is in the right hand corner doesn't seem to have any kind of shadow. Here's the first zoomed in shot of the figure in the right hand corner, and as you see, there seems to be a fence or a fence row behind the figure, but there seems to be some distance from the fence to the figure, and the figure is not on the fence, or it's not anything that's hanging on the fence, and the figure doesn't seem to be casting any kind of shadow. This zoom is a little bit tighter, and you can see that doesn't seem to be any kind of shadow underneath the figure at all. So this was intriguing. You can see the one fence post just to the right of this image. You see the weaving of the fence just a little bit, and then there's woods behind, a forest or some trees. So, but nothing but peculiarity here. This is a zoom of the area just beneath the figure, and you see grass, some dirt right at the figure line on the left and the right, but no apparent shadow. There doesn't seem to be any feet or any kind of appendage, anything that might be forming a base for it to sit upon or stand upon. I zoomed in on one of the edges. This is the left-hand side of the photograph as it faces us, what you would call the right shoulder of the image. If it is a person, it'd be a shoulder. To see and look at the pixelation there and to see if I could see any evidences of cutting and pasting. I thought about for this video presentation of pasting something in for comparison, but this is just something that might not be interested to anybody but a photography expert. But when you paste something in artificially into a photograph into which it doesn't belong, the pixels really don't line up. The pieces and parts, the small digital bytes and bits of the photograph don't match up. It's obvious that this picture is of one piece. Whatever is in this picture was not added to the photograph itself or in the photographic process. This figure may have been added at the scene. That's a possibility of that. But as far as looking at this and saying that this is a double exposure or this is something that is there because of some kind of manipulation of the photograph or the picture itself, that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems that, as I said, there's a uniform picture. There doesn't appear to be any tampering on any piece or part of it. When I zoomed in at the top of the photo, or looking at the top of the figure, it appeared to me to be a head and a face. I seemed to be someone with a beard, someone with deep-set eyes. It seemed to be hair that framing a face. Couldn't really tell. There seemed to be something around the person's neck, some kind of a wrap or a scarf. Possibility that the part of a beard was extending, or ear tufts from a unique kind of hairstyle. That was mysterious there. I had no answer to it, but it seemed to be shaping up. It looked to be very human-like, and the tone seemed to be skin-colored and hair-colored. The robe, of course, is just pure white. I enhanced the colors a little bit, changed made the colors more intense, not changing the colors, but using the editing tools that I had to make the colors more pronounced. And it seemed to develop more and more as if this was a picture of a human appearing figure, a person, if you would. Deepening the contrast just went farther along to convince me that what I was looking at was the image of the face of a man. And it appeared so. Now, later on you're going to see that this was incorrect, that actually I was seeing something that was not actually there. And this is the possibility with the best photographic evidence. You might say, well, cameras can't be fooled. Cameras can only see or capture what is before them. Well, that's maybe so, but it is not quite so simple, because we're looking at a photograph and the photographic evidence with a human mind and with a human eye, and our eyes can play tricks upon us, and our mind does create so often what it wants to see. And so these are all difficulties. Eyewitnesses to a crime or any other kind of event are some of the poorest evidence you might ever hear to be presented by any lawyer in prosecution or our defense of their clients. So as we go along, this was my initial analysis, and you can see the conclusions that I seemed to be coming to. As a matter of fact, I went to the very next step and enhanced the contrast so much that I could actually pencil in or sketch in with my very poor freehand mouse drawing the face that I thought I saw. So this is what I thought I was winding up with. Very convincing. If this is all that you had, if you didn't do any further research, you might be convinced that what we were seeing was a ghost or an angel. The Cloud Cemetery is in North Alabama. It's in a rural part of the outskirts of Madison County, not too far from the city of Huntsville. It's not my intention to uh, encourage you to go to the cemetery. There's really nothing there to see. There's nothing supernatural there, nothing amazing. Uh, it was the end of an adventure for me, but even while I was there, I did go, and this is what the next part of the video is about my visit to the Cloud family burial site. We were very respectful while we were there. It was not as if we were at a party or that we were there without due respect to the type of place that we were at. This is where people have buried their loved ones and their friends and their family. So we weren't there just as a game or a thrill seeking, just doing some investigation. And so we, in spite of the frivolity of our purpose, we did our very best not to make our visit there of any kind of clamor or certainly not of disrespect. So I'm not encouraging you to go there. As a matter of fact, I'd like to discourage you from going there and disturbing anything about the cemetery. And we certainly wanted to leave no indication that we'd ever been there to hurt or harm anything or cause any kind of destruction. And so let me say that it's a real place, and that's really all I want to establish here, but not say, hey, let's all go there because there's something unusual there to see. There just isn't. It's a cemetery. On January 1st, 2017, I dragged my family out into a rainy Sunday afternoon after we had finished lunch after church on a field trip to see if we could find out the answer or the resolution to the Cloud Cemetery angel. As soon as we arrived at the cemetery, it was very plain and clear and obvious to us what was being portrayed in the picture, the mysterious picture. As a matter of fact, even before we got to the seminary, when we were still quite some distance away, we could see something that began to explain the situation and the circumstances. The photograph that you're looking now is one that is very much taken from the very same, almost an identical angle as the original. You can see our car there on the left. It's a white minivan. You can see the part of an umbrella that my granddaughter's carrying. And as we pull off to the side of the road, I was already out of the car. You can see a few raindrops on the lens of the camera. Shadows are not in play on this particular day. Not much sunshine, but it was myself, my wife Terry, my brother Danny and his wife Liz, and our granddaughter, 6-year-old granddaughter, Addison Buell. And we piled out of the car and went into the gate, and I began to snap photographs. There's my brother Danny. To the left of him, his wife Liz, and there's Addison. Addison seemed to be having a good time, and I think she even enjoyed the trip more after it was over and after she kind of got the big picture about the picture and about what we were doing on this rainy day. In this photo, I'm standing at the vantage point. My brother, I've asked him to walk across the back part of the cemetery in conjunction with the figure on the right, and so this next photograph is a record of that progression and that stroll across the cemetery. Now I began to move closer and change my vantage point so that you can actually see what he's standing beside. What appeared to be, from simply and merely the examination of a single photograph, to be very spooky and eerie was merely a statue of Jesus in a cemetery. I wanted to get in the scene and get into the act myself, so here's a picture of myself taken by my brother. You can see the tombstone from which I came in, back in the back right in the background, and then myself here standing with the statue. I think that there are many things in this life that are worthy of our belief and our confidence, but we ought to be on our guard. This is something that the scriptures stress very plainly, that we shouldn't believe every spirit. This is said, recorded in 1 John chapter 4. The little epistle of John, chapter 4, he says, try every spirit. So this is what we were doing today. I am a believer in the record of the Bible. There's many almost unbelievable things there. It takes great faith and trusting in God. I believe that he's worthy of our faith. And I still enjoy this kind of thing in pursuit. There's nothing serious about this, or nothing that I was actually trying to prove or disprove, just something that intrigued me and I followed it through. I would never give myself to believe something that I simply saw in a photograph or that someone told me, or even if someone, that's the story of my journey of faith. I do not believe what I believe about God and about Jesus simply because a preacher told me, or because I read it in a book, even in the Bible. I believe that there's a great deal more to my belief and my faith than the faith itself. And something bigger than just my choosing to accept something that so often, or many things, that I cannot prove or that I cannot demonstrate. So, but I enjoyed this little outing. The particular element that confounded me the most is how I could look at the back of this statue's head and make out eyes, nose, a beard, chin, ears. Well, you can see that the back of the head is not smooth. It has a lot of different contours and different shapes, and it flows in a lot of different ways, where there are indicating the thickness of hair or waves in hair. It's a masterful job done in plaster, perhaps. But on a sunny day, with the sun in Jesus' statue face here, shadows would have been cast over the back of the head by these various shapes and forms that are on the back of the head, causing reflection, shadows, and a variety of different tricks of light and shadow that would give someone wanting to see a face all that they needed to see a face. I hope that you enjoyed this adventure. I certainly did. My family did. My granddaughter gave me a ghost Jesus for my birthday last Sunday, and it's in the back window of my car now. You can see it as I drive down the road. She's only 6 years old, but I think she gets me. Her pops is a little bit strange, but evidently she picks up on it. She understands me, so that means a lot to me. For some reason, I enjoy being tricked or fooled, or I enjoy seeing and watching magic. I enjoy seeing and watching things that are unexplainable or not readily explainable. Some things that are mysterious, but I like to find resolution. I like to find reason and cause. So that's true of my faith as well. I'm always seeking truth, always testing and questioning, always trying and proving. And I hope that there's not anything completely made of whole cloth that is a part of my faith. I've grown over many, many years, and I hope to grow a great deal more, to believe only the things that are worthy of my faith, are worthy of being called the truth.